Hey, good morning, and thanks. Maybe if you're tuning in, it's 5:03 a.m. here in Michigan. The Lord woke me up at 3 o'clock this morning, and I just had a burden on my heart about America and a burden on my heart about what's transpiring all over the world, and what's facing our country, and most of all, what's facing born again believers and Christians that just aren't aware of how close we are to seeing the return of Christ and what comes along with that. And so, this is an update for everyone to watch in regards to the war with Iran. And there are some disturbing videos that are out there, and some of it is not being told to the American public. So uh, I was a little alarmed by what I saw. This video is roughly about an hour long, and I'm sorry. Most of the ones I do are about in that length, and I'm sorry, but if you really want to if you really want to know what's taking place, you got to take the time to watch. You got to take the time to be ready. You got to be born again. You got to bear fruit. You got to go to church. You got to share your faith. And you got to be ready for whatever comes our way. We're not promised no persecution, and we're not promised to not go through wars and rumors of wars. We're promised to be saved out of God's wrath. And that happens right around the midpoint of the Great Tribulation. The beginning part of the Great Tribulation is the seals, where the Lamb is worthy, starts breaking the seals and opens them. Within the first three seals, four seals, nearly 2/3 of the Earth's population is destroyed. I I beg with you to understand that none of us have got this right in regards to when Christ returns. If it's I'm a pre-tribulation rapture believer. It's my hope that the Lord removes us out of here based on what Scripture says before any of this takes place. There are folks who believe in mid-tribulation rapture, and there are folks that don't believe it's not going to happen until the end. And then there are folks, a large number of people that are believing that there's going to be no rapture at all. Where you stand in any of this, I urge you to watch the updates on this Iran war. It is a biblical war of biblical proportions starting, and where it's going to end up. No Bible scholar, no prophecy expert that I've seen over the last 3 weeks can tell you how it's going to end up. God is in control. We just know that it is a biblical aspect leading us to the possibility of peace and security in the Middle East. And we know by what Scripture tells us. And then, as a woman in travail, sudden destruction comes upon them as a woman in travail, and they shall not escape. So I urge you to watch it, post your comments, and get ready and go to church this morning and share your faith with everybody as much as possible.
Breaking news, viewers, just in. The United States launched Minuteman III. The US military says the missile was an unarmed intercontinental ballistic missile. The missile is a nuclear warhead and is meant for nuclear deterrence. The Minuteman III was launched by the US. The launch comes at a moment when West Asia is already on edge with war raging with Iran. The Minuteman III, it is also known as the Doomsday Missile. And as these missiles aren't meant to be used ever because of the destruction that it can unleash.
To demonstrate the readiness of the U.S. nuclear forces and provide confidence in the lethality and effectiveness of the nation's nuclear deterrent.
This is a big development, viewers. The U.S. launched Minuteman III, the Doomsday Missile. The U.S. says during this test, the ICBM's two re-entry vehicles traveled thousands of kilometers to a predetermined target at the Marshall Islands. This was a test fire. The U.S. military says that the missile was launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California in a statement, the US military said, I quote from it, the launch was to demonstrate the readiness of the US nuclear forces and provide confidence to the lethality and effectiveness of the nation's nuclear deterrent. Now, the missile has a range exceeding 13,000 kilometers. It can carry up to 3 independently targetable re-entry vehicles. These MIRVs are armed with nuclear warheads. And now these thermonuclear warheads have 300 to 475 kiloton yield each. Now, to explain this a little more, take the example of an atomic bomb. The atomic bomb, which was dropped on Hiroshima on the 6th of August 1945, it had a yield of approximately 15 kilotons of TNT. Compare that to the figures I just gave you. Now, the Boeing-made solid-fuel Minuteman III, it has been deployed as part of the United States nuclear arsenal since the 1970s. It has been the backbone of the U.S. land-based nuclear strategic force. The missile is the only land-based component of the U.S. nuclear triad and is said to have near 100% testing reliability. US currently has well over 400 of these Minuteman III missiles at various Air Force bases across Colorado, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Wyoming. It can travel more than 13,000 kilometers, as I gave you the range earlier as well, and it can reach speeds of Mach 23, that's 23 times the speed of sound, more than 28,000 kilometers per hour. The test launch off the coast of California comes as the US is embroiled in the middle of a war with the Islamic Republic of Iran. The timing is impossible to ignore. Although Air Force Global Strike Command insists that the test was scheduled years in advance, the optics are extremely clear and not lost on anyone.
To eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans, as they've been doing for nearly half a century.
Iran unleashed a massive retaliatory missile barrage after Israeli fighter jets pounded targets in Tehran, dramatically escalating the already explosive war in the Middle East.
All right, just so you know, these are updates within the last 24 to 48 hours.
A fresh wave of missiles toward Israel, lighting up the skies and triggering air raid sirens across multiple cities. Residents rushed to shelters as explosions echoed and air defenses scrambled to intercept the incoming projectiles. The strike came just hours after a major Israeli air assault involving dozens of fighter jets targeting military sites in Tehran, marking a dangerous new phase in the intensifying conflict. In a statement, the Israeli Defense Forces said it detected a new ballistic missile attack from Iran. According to Israeli authorities, this was Iran's 12th missile attack in under 24 hours. Soon, sirens began blaring in southern, central, as well as northern Israel. There was panic and chaos as millions of Israelis rushed to bomb shelters to save their lives. According to the IDF's initial assessment, the Iranian missile was intercepted. There were no reports of direct impacts or injuries in the attack. The IDF Homefront Command also allowed civilians in areas where sirens sounded to leave bomb shelters. However, this unverified online footage showed an Iranian missile impacting Haifa's refinery in northern Israel. The video showed a huge cloud of smoke coming out from the refinery. An intercepted Iranian ballistic missile landed in Tokarm in the West Bank. The missile looks huge. Fire and smoke were emanating. Meanwhile, Israel continues to pound the Iranian capital, Tehran, and other parts of the country. On March 8th, Israeli forces bombed oil storage facilities in Tehran. Israel struck 3 oil storage depots and refining facilities for the first time. The Israeli...
Now, if you remember what happened back in the Desert Storm and what was going on with the Bush Sr., if you remember what happened, that's exactly what the Islamic regimes did. Iraq and others, they started bombing their own oil rigs. And if you recall, all the way back at that time frame, just like what happened with Katrina, gasoline went up to about $4.50 a gallon. If we look at this possibly lasting the full 90 days that President Trump, I think, believes he needs to go, we're probably looking at here in the Middle East or in the Mideast, northeastern part of the country, California could be seeing anywhere between $7 to $8 a gallon of gas. Experts are saying that oil could reach $200 a barrel before this is all said and done. And then, of course, it would drop dramatically after that. The biggest thing of it is what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz. And then Iran really only sells the majority of their oil is sold to China and Russia, and North Korea. So by Israel bombing their method of making money and bombing their oil refineries, which is going to be costly, replacing and repairing it puts China and Russia out of the game, so to speak, down the road, because they're going to have to buy their oil from different places. And that means that the association that China and Russia had with Iran, they were paying for the oil in Iranian money. That means that China and Russia, if they were to purchase oil, or specifically China and North Korea, they will have to go back to using U.S. currency in order to buy oil on the market. Once this one is eliminated, this source is eliminated. Venezuela has already been eliminated too. So they're cornering China, and in essence, cornering Russia, cornering Turkey, and it's getting dangerous, folks. I'm telling you right now, it's getting dangerous. We need to have a calmness about what's taking place there and here too, but we need to take a sense of urgency in understanding the biblical implications and the times that we live in. You got to take time to share your faith, to tell others about Christ, and bring them to the table so they can see for themselves why is there a sense of urgency for them to come. And revival's happening all over the United States. It's happening all over the world. It's just not happening in our local and in the churches here in the United States. It's happening outside of different organizations, and we just don't see our local churches, people going forward, people getting saved. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of local churches don't have an outreach program. They don't reach out to the community. They don't go door to door. They don't sponsor or become sponsors in organized areas of being able to give their information about why they're there, to give the love of Christ and to bring folks into the church. They just don't do it. And it lacks the bearing of fruit. So please understand, this is a sense of urgency right now.
The army said on X that several depots belonging to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps were hit. On March 7th, the Israeli military struck Ahmedabad Airport in Tehran. Israel alleges that the airport was used to help transport weapons to militant groups that Iran supports across the Middle East. An ambulance was also destroyed and engulfed in flames following an Israeli strike in the Iranian capital, according to Fars news agency affiliated with the IRGC. A video posted by Fars on X showed a vehicle on fire as a person in an emergency suit appeared to try to put out the flames. The ambulance was traveling through an alley in Tehran's eastern Tehran Pars district when the attack took place. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign in Iran would continue unabated and that the moment of truth was nearing for Iranians to overthrow their government. U.S. President Donald Trump also told reporters that the war will continue for a while longer without providing a timeline.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
Based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hickson? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating?
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done by Iran.
Can you give us an
Because
idea
they're
of
very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
Can you give us an idea of what unconditional surrender looks like to you? I mean, what do you want from Iran?
I said unconditional, not conditional. I said unconditional. It's where they cry uncle, or when they can't fight any longer, there's nobody around to cry uncle. That could happen too, because we've wiped out their leadership numerous times already. So it's if they surrender, or if there is nobody around to surrender, but they're rendered useless in terms of military.
Now, I hope you understand what President Trump just said there. And please listen carefully. There is no conditions of this war for them to give up their arms, as what he was asked with Gaza and what Israel asked Gaza to do with Hamas. This is coordinated to be a complete obliteration and to vaporize the regime and the Iranian National Guard. They want them all taken out. Never before have I ever witnessed in my 67 years of life, starting with President Kennedy when I was 4 years old and seen him assassinated on live television, the coverage of it, not the actual assassination, but the coverage of it. I was 4 years old when I seen it. I remember my mom ironing my dad's jeans for work, and I was sitting there watching a old Zenith 25-inch Zenith console TV sitting on the floor with legs, black and white TV, and the special report came over the television, and they announced that President Kennedy had been assassinated, had been shot. My mom basically fell down to her knees. It was a time where people, they loved the Kennedys. They loved them. A major portion of the country loved him. And we all know there's conspiracy surrounding his death. But bottom line is, since that time frame, and I've studied and watched presidents in our country go through the Vietnam War and Desert Storm and Iraq and 9/11 and everything that we've been facing since that time frame. This is none of that compares to what we're seeing here with this president and with what he's saying. And we have to take into accountability the fact that Iran is supposed to be a covenant was made between them, China, Russia, and then North Korea added later, an agreement. So how close, how long do we wait? Maybe China and Russia are trying to provide arms. They cut off a bridge. You'll see here in just a few minutes. They cut off a bridge where truckers were bringing that kind of stuff in, and now they can't. They're parked on the side of the road. I mean, every detail of the aspect of taking this completely out and cutting the head off cleanly, every detail has been thought of. And yet there are conflicting reports. Iran is starting to give propaganda and make conflicting reports. You'll have to see those on YouTube. I didn't include those here in this video.
Mr. President, can I ask you what Peter asked you a question yesterday? He said it wasn't the right time in that event, but he was asking whether you have indications of whether Russia is supporting Iran somehow in this.
No, I haven't had no indication of that whatsoever. If they are, they're not doing a very good job, because Iran is not doing too well.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? There's no traffic really going through it.
Well, that's, the ship's choices, but we have it cleaned out. We've wiped out their Navy. Their Navy is now at the bottom of the sea. So that's the choice. This is an excursion. We figured oil prices would go up, which they will. They'll also come down. They'll come down very fast, and we will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth. We will have taken out a cancer. Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So what we're doing is a great thing, not only for our country and not only for Israel, not only for the Middle East, but for the world.
Its sixth missile attack on Israel in just 9 hours, as the war between the two countries continues to intensify. According to medics, there are no reports of injuries following the latest ballistic missile strike. A small number of missiles were fired from Iran, setting off air raid sirens across the Jerusalem area and parts of southern Israel. Israeli authorities say there were no reports of direct impacts. The Israel Defense Forces Home Front Command later confirmed that civilians in areas where sirens sounded could leave their bomb shelters. Earlier, the Israeli military said it had detected the launch of ballistic missiles from Iran after a lull of approximately 5 hours. The IDF warned that sirens were expected to sound in central Israel in the coming minutes as the missiles approached. The attacks come amid continuing exchanges of fire as the conflict between Israel and Iran enters another phase of escalation.
So if you're just tuning in, these are the latest updates within the last 24 to 48 hours of what's taking place in Israel.
The Israeli Home Front Command has also addressed questions about the shorter early warning times issued during recent missile attacks. Officials say the shorter alerts are not due to a technical malfunction, but are instead related to a range of operational factors involved in detecting incoming missiles. According to the military, the detection of missile launches and barrages can vary depending on several conditions during flight and tracking. In a statement, the military said it is not always possible to provide a long preparation time between the initial notification and the sounding of sirens. During attacks on Friday evening, early warnings were issued between 1 and 3 minutes before the siren sounded. This was shorter than the usual preparation window of 4 to 8 minutes. In the attacks that followed during the early hours of Saturday, the gap between the early warning and the siren ranged from 3 to 7 minutes. The military said this falls within the typical average warning range. The Home Front Command stressed that sometimes alerts may come very close to the time when sirens are activated. The military also noted that in certain situations, sirens may be sounded without any advance notification at all. Officials say this depends entirely on operational conditions during missile detection and tracking. The Home Front Command explained that advance notifications are sent to mobile phones in relevant areas as early as possible. These alerts form part of Israel's public warning system, designed to inform civilians of incoming threats. According to the military, early alerts are issued based on the detection of missile launches from Iran, and
I want you to consider something here briefly and consider this. What would happen to the major portion of the Islamic world if a missile was launched and it hit the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock? It hit the Temple Mount and it destroyed both of them. Probably would do some major damage to the Temple Mount too. What do you think would happen within the Islamic world if that was done? And what if Iran, as a false flag, did it themselves but said it was done by Israel or the United States? Would that be enough to put guns and troops on the ground? Would that be enough for Islamic clerics to tell every single one of their followers in their churches and synagogues it's time to get up and take arms? Would that make the sleeper cells in the United States activated? Would that help every Islamic mosque that's in the United States and clerics from high up within the Islamic ideology were telling all the clerics and all the synagogues in the United States to go to the streets and to mass murder infidels, mass murder Americans? We're so close to seeing something like that happen at this point. It's not funny. And so, as our country has not seen any type of persecution before, this is something that could actually be true, that would happen. So this is why I'm doing this. It's 5:30 in the morning, and I'm going to be up around and getting around for church later on this morning. It's a sense of urgency that I think a lot of folks don't know. They don't have a clue. They don't watch. You know, our broadcast has been picked up by several different. We're on Rumble. We're on Prophecies of the End Times Facebook page. We're on the YouTube channel. We're on a new stream called Kick, which is just a bunch of crazy people on there doing all kinds of stuff. And we're right in the midst of Sodom and Gomorrah preaching the gospel. And we're outside viewers are averaging between 1,500 and 2,000 views. But when I'm doing something just locally, which is our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, just and unannounced, and anybody who would be subscribed to our channel, they would know. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and it makes it a little difficult. But throughout the time period, I just wonder how many folks. I just wonder how many folks are actually watching and taking heed to what we're bringing across. It's serious, folks. It really is.
And the stage of flight the projectile has reached. This means that in some cases, warnings may arrive only shortly before the sirens themselves. Some unverified reports have suggested that the shorter warnings might be linked to damage to U.S. radar systems in the region caused by Iranian strikes. However, the military says this explanation is highly unlikely. Officials say those radar systems were damaged days earlier and not during the latest overnight attacks. They also note that the overnight strikes still produced warning times that fall within normal ranges. Meanwhile, the Israeli military says it carried out a broad-scale wave of strikes overnight across the Iranian capital, Tehran, and other parts of central Iran. The attacks mark another escalation as the war moves into its second week. At the same time, Iran has continued firing missiles and drones across the region. On Saturday morning, Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, said in a televised address that Iran would no longer attack neighboring countries. This announcement followed repeated Iranian rocket and drone strikes on Gulf states in recent days. However, shortly after the statement, Qatar and Bahrain reported air raid sirens warning of incoming fire. The alerts suggested that little had changed despite the announcement. The Iranian attacks have sparked widespread anger among Gulf states. Reports indicate that Iranian drones have struck areas in and around hotels, an airport, and other civilian infrastructure. President Pezeshkian apologized for the attacks, but he also stated that Iran would continue to strike any country from which Iran itself was attacked. Many Gulf nations host United States military bases. At the same time, Israeli strikes reportedly hit Mehrabad Airport in Tehran overnight on Saturday.
All right, if you're just tuning in, these are updates within the last 24 to 48 hours.
Two residents of Tehran said the airport, which serves as a major domestic aviation hub, appeared to have suffered heavy damage. They reported seeing what looked like commercial aircraft burning on the tarmac. Just over a week into the fighting, the war involving the United States, Israel, and Iran has already caused widespread disruption across the region. Hundreds of people have been killed, most of them in Iran. The conflict has drawn in countries from Oman to Turkey. The war has disrupted international travel and shipping routes while sending global oil and gas prices sharply higher. As the conflict continues, questions remain about the broader objectives of the United States in the war. President Donald Trump's strategy has remained unclear. According to reports, the administration has shifted between outlining specific military objectives and suggesting a broader effort aimed at removing the Iranian government.
This is where I get a little frustrated too, because he was just asked about what was going to happen while they were doing a presser on Air Force One. He was asked, what's the timeline? What are you going to do? What's going on? And he basically told them, there's no surrender. We're there for however long it takes to cut the head off the snake and to eliminate all of the National Guard, the Iranian National Guard, and to take out all of their capability for war, period. They've gotten all their leaders, the majority of them, but there's more than that will more than likely pop up. And we have to be aware that Iran has been preparing for this for nearly 40 some years. And they're instigating right along with the attacks with the United States attacking Iran and then Israel also. They're instigating what they've wanted to do and what they've had planned to do in the event that this would happen. And they've had to have known that. The Ayatollah had to have communicated that, especially to the military, that those who are still in charge, that if this should happen, this is our plan of attack. And they've had that long to prepare for it. And they've collected a barrage of missiles and anti-missiles, and it's going to take a long time to take it all out, even if we get it all. So when the press starts thinking, well, Trump says it's going to be done very quickly, and now it's not being done so quickly, and now it's going to be done for however long it takes. And he's only got 90 days. That's 60 days in the war and not 30 days to remove troops from the sea and to bring the ships home and the air and the jets home. And that's hopefully to keep troops on the ground off. That will need congressional approval. So as we watch this intensify, the air campaign is going to be annihilation. So we need to pray for the Iranians that are there, anybody that's an innocent citizens that need to be out of harm's way, because hopefully the intelligence has been good enough. It's been collective enough. So when they start bombing these places that need to be bombed, people are out of the way and no citizens are hurt. We've seen nothing yet. This report will show you just a little bit more of what is the anticipation of what's coming.
For now, missile launches, retaliatory strikes, and expanding regional involvement continue to drive the conflict forward. And with Iran launching repeated attacks and Israel carrying out new strikes, the war shows few signs of slowing down. Hezbollah has unleashed a fresh wave of attacks against Israel, dramatically escalating tensions across the northern front as the wider regional conflict intensifies. Rockets and attack drones were launched from southern Lebanon toward key Israeli cities and military installations, marking one of the most aggressive assaults in recent weeks. In a major escalation, Hezbollah fighters fired large rocket barrages toward the Israeli port city of Haifa, while also launching swarms of attack drones at strategic targets. Air raid sirens echoed across northern Israel as residents rushed into shelters and Israeli air defenses scrambled to intercept the incoming projectiles. Israeli media reported that more than 40 rockets were launched from Lebanon in the latest barrage alone. Some of the projectiles were described as heavy rockets, capable of causing significant destruction. Several impacts were reported in and around Haifa, raising fears that the conflict is rapidly expanding beyond the immediate border areas.
This is what I'm kind of concerned with too, is that we to actually know our intelligence level has to be accurate, but to actually know what capabilities Iran has and what they've accumulated over the last 40-some years as far as missiles are concerned, the size of them, the types of missiles they've bought from China and from Russia, the retaliatorial missiles that they've got. So we have to be very cautious with this. I'm sure that our intelligence has been accurate, but there's going to be some unknown factors. And right now, Israel is carrying the brunt of the burden of being attacked. Nothing's happening here in the United States at all. And we should be thankful for Israel being there with us. And prayers need to go out for the nation of Israel and the safety of its citizens.
The assault quickly intensified. Within a short period, additional rockets and drone swarms were launched toward the northern coastal city of Nahariya. According to Israeli outlets, nearly 100 launches from Lebanon occurred within just 30 minutes, overwhelming air defense systems and forcing thousands of civilians into shelters. Hezbollah also targeted the northern settlement of Kiryat Shmona with attack drones, signaling a coordinated multi-directional offensive across Israel's northern region. Just hours before the attacks began, Hezbollah issued warnings to residents in Nahariya and Kiryat Shmona, urging them to evacuate southward. Israeli settlers later told local media that Hezbollah had fulfilled its promise to bombard the region after issuing those warnings, suggesting the strikes were carefully planned and deliberately timed. But the attacks did not stop at civilian areas. Hezbollah also directed its fire toward critical Israeli military infrastructure. One of the most alarming targets was an Iron Dome radar installation at the Kiryat Eliezer site in Haifa, a key component of Israel's missile defense network.
Now, that's part of the stuff that's not been announced here in the United States, is that what they just got done saying is that a part of Israel's Iron Dome was taken out, which means that I don't know how that affects the warning system, but it may affect it severely. I don't know if this is all spread out through Israel, where the Iron Dome is and where it's situated. It seems like it would be. It seems like it would be spread out, and that they just wouldn't have all their eggs in one basket, and they can operate that Iron Dome throughout the country or throughout the nation. But that's a significant event of Hezbollah being able to take out one of their Iron Dome communication satellite and not be able to forewarn Israelis ahead of time what's coming. So that's detrimental for Israel.
Reports indicate that specialized missiles were used in the strike, raising concerns that Hezbollah may be attempting to weaken Israel's ability to intercept incoming rockets. Another significant strike reportedly targeted the Tel Hashem Air Base, the headquarters of the Israeli military's general staff, located southeast of Tel Aviv. The base lies roughly 120 kilometers from the Lebanese border, suggesting that Hezbollah may now be deploying longer-range weapons capable of reaching deeper into Israeli territory. If confirmed, such an attack would represent one of the deepest strikes linked to Hezbollah since the latest escalation began. Drone operations also reportedly targeted facilities belonging to Elta Military Industries, northeast of Haifa, as well as the Haifa oil refinery, both considered highly strategic assets for Israel's defense and energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, the fighting extended to the immediate border areas. Hezbollah launched a rocket barrage toward the Ein Zaitim base near Safed, while simultaneously confronting Israeli troop movements along the frontier. Clashes intensified in southern Lebanon near the towns of Markaba and Al-Khiam. Hezbollah fighters reportedly used rockets and attack drones to strike gatherings of Israeli soldiers and military vehicles, turning the border region into a dangerous combat zone. One attack targeted a large concentration of Israeli military vehicles near the Hunin Gate opposite the town of Markaba. Another drone strike hit Israeli soldiers positioned on the south outskirts of Al-Khiam. The Israeli army later confirmed that 2 soldiers from the elite Givati brigade were wounded after an anti-tank missile was fired during the clashes in southern Lebanon. These developments come as regional tensions are already soaring amid the escalating confrontation involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. For years, military analysts have warned that a full-scale conflict with Hezbollah could unleash tens of thousands of rockets toward Israeli cities. The latest barrage is a stark reminder of that threat. Hezbollah is widely believed to possess one of the largest missile arsenals held by non-state military force, including precision-guided rockets capable of striking deep inside Israel.
This is where if our intelligence has been accurate and these B-52s have been brought in over the next several days, Hezbollah will be toast, and their capability of taking those rockets and firing them at Israel will be severely depleted. Let's hope that that's the case, because if it's not, and Iran gets the upper hand on this, Israel is going to get hit hard.
With the broader regional crisis already unfolding, every new attack increases the risk that the conflict could spiral into a much larger war. Across northern Israel, residents remain on high alert as sirens continue to sound and air defenses work to intercept incoming rockets and drones. What began as cross-border tensions is now evolving into a rapidly expanding battlefield.
See, and this is what makes me wonder. This thought just came to me. This makes me wonder. Could what Paul was speaking of, that they shall say peace and safety, and then sudden destruction shall fall upon them, like a woman in travail, and they shall not escape. Do we actually have to achieve peace and security within Israel beyond what it's been in order to see this sudden destruction come upon them? They and them, what Paul was speaking of in Thessalonians to the church, was Jews. So this is speaking directly about what would be taking place in Israel, the time of Jacob's trouble, the Great Tribulation. So I'm just wondering if there has to be peace and security throughout the entire region in a manner that just says, okay, we've got the Abraham covenant, we've got the Abraham Accords in place. We have several nations, dozens of nations that are confirmed to have signed it. So we have a covenant of many, as it's spoken of in Daniel chapter 9, already in place. And we know that the Antichrist will come on board and confirm that covenant. So, I mean, the dynamic of this war changes everything that biblical scholars have been looking at. And that's why we're all sitting at the edge of our seats, waiting to see exactly what happens, because nobody's got it 100% right. Nobody. I mean, that'd be like saying we have the mind of God, and what we tell you is what God says is going to happen. And there's tons of people out there who claim they're prophets, and they're telling you this is what's going to happen, and it doesn't happen. Or they look up on something on the internet and do a proxy, and they come up with some good answer, and then they look like they're a prophet just so that they can get the clicks and collect their $600,000 a year checks from YouTube. Nobody knows what's going to happen with this. Nobody.
One that could reshape the security landscape of the entire Middle East. Hezbollah fighters ambushed a group of Israeli soldiers near Nabi Chit in the Bekaa Valley in eastern Lebanon. The IDF soldiers were attacked soon after 4 Israeli helicopters airdropped them for an operation. In a statement, the Lebanon-based militant group said that Israelis infiltrated from Syrian territory and advancing troops were engaged by a group of Hezbollah fighters as they reached the Nabi Chit cemetery. Hezbollah confirmed that it used light and medium weapons in the attack. Hezbollah added the clash escalated after the enemy force was exposed. A separate statement said Hezbollah fighters fired rockets as the Israeli forces withdrew. Hezbollah said IDF then launched 40 airstrikes to secure the withdrawal of the ambushed forces. Lebanese media also reported that clashes erupted early Saturday as Israeli forces attempted to land along the Lebanon-Syria border. The state-run national news agency, NNA, said clashes are taking place on the eastern mountain range along the Lebanese-Syrian border to repel Israeli landing attempts. Local residents recorded video of Israeli jets releasing flares over Nabi Chit in the Bekaa Valley amid sounds of gunfire. According to the NNA, Nabi Chit was the target of at least 13 Israeli airstrikes on Friday, with the Lebanese Health Ministry reporting at least 9 people killed. The Israel Defense Forces has not yet reacted to the report. If confirmed, The latest reported raid would be the deepest Israeli forces have reached inside Lebanon since special unit troops apprehended Hezbollah operative Imad Amhaz from the northern city of Batroun in November 2024.
Now, in a previous broadcast that I did here yesterday, or I believe it was Friday, this is Sunday morning, we talked about, and we showed a documentary from the producers who put together a pretty decent timeline of Isaiah chapter 17 with Damascus. It is verified through Israeli sources that Damascus does have weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons, missiles, that they're stored there in Syria from the previous regime that was there. The new guy is an ex-ISIS soldier, and according to Isaiah chapter 17, it's not happened yet, that Damascus is no longer a city. It's obliterated, destroyed. If these verified sources are true and that there are weapons in Damascus, don't think for 1 minute that they're not on the list of being attacked, because they will be. If this prophecy of Iran, the biblical war, is being fulfilled in the way we think it is, Isaiah 17 is right around the corner. And it may be done within the plan that's not being revealed to Democrats here in our country and to the news media in the way that they would like to see President Trump reveal it. If plans with Benjamin Netanyahu are set in motion, and to go along a certain level of degree of this step, and this step, and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, who's giving the press release why, after the steps have been taken, Damascus may be on the list. It may be. So this is why we really have to be cautious. We have to pay attention to what's going on. It's all the more closer to us seeing the return of Christ. It really is.
Meanwhile, the situation in northern Israel remains tense. Sirens sounded in several western Galilee communities due to a suspected drone infiltration from neighboring Lebanon. Air raid sirens also sounded in the coastal city of Nahariya. Reuters reported, citing 6 sources familiar with the group's activities, that Hezbollah spent months rebuilding its stockpile of rockets and drones in preparation for a potential new conflict with Israel. The sources said Hezbollah replenished its weapons supplies with support from Iran and through its own local weapons manufacturing facilities. The effort aimed at restoring the group's military capabilities after heavy losses in earlier fighting with Israel.
This turns out to be, it might be total propaganda and lies from Iran, but we're going to watch it.
American soldiers were secretly captured in the middle of this war? A shocking claim from Iran's top security official is now raising serious questions, and Washington is calling it pure propaganda. As the war between the United States, Israel, and Iran intensifies, a dramatic statement has emerged from Tehran. Ali Larijani, the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, claims that several American soldiers have been taken prisoner during the fighting. Posting on social media, Larijani said he had been informed that multiple U.S. troops were captured alive, even though the United States claims those soldiers were killed in action. He wrote, "Despite their futile efforts, the truth is not something they can hide for too long." This isn't the first dramatic claim from Tehran. Larijani has previously alleged that more than 500 American troops were killed in retaliatory strikes, numbers that are vastly higher than the official U.S. figures. Iranian state media has been amplifying these claims, suggesting Washington may be hiding heavy losses from the public. But the United States is rejecting the accusations completely. U.S. Central Command quickly responded, calling the claims lies and deception.
And that's exactly what, I mean, can you imagine if our intelligence and our United States administration, Trump, the most transparency administration that this country's ever seen, their claims that they're covering up 500 soldiers that were wiped out or been taken prisoner? I just don't see that happening.
Pentagon officials say no American soldiers have been captured and that all reported casualties were confirmed as killed in action. So far, Iran has not provided any evidence, no names, photos, or videos of captured troops. Experts say this could be part of a broader information war where both sides use powerful narratives to influence global opinion and boost morale at home. If the claim were ever proven true, it could dramatically escalate the conflict, potentially triggering a major U.S. military response. But if it turns out to be false, it could damage Iran's credibility on the global stage. Meanwhile, the war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran entered its 9th day, with high-intensity strikes spreading across the Middle East. The situation remains volatile, with reports of high-intensity Israeli airstrikes emerging from multiple sites in Iran and Lebanon. Iran has also launched several retaliatory strikes against U.S. and Israeli facilities in West Asia. Earlier, Tehran launched fresh missile strikes on the military bases of the two countries in West Asia. Israeli forces also struck Hezbollah sites in Lebanon, where 8 people were killed. Lebanon was dragged into the conflict on Monday when Hezbollah attacked Israel in retaliation for the killing of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One.
Okay, that's what I got for you so far this morning. It's been on for about an hour. There's actually more, but we'll have to air it and upload it to our YouTube channel in its entirety. We're just going to stay on for about an hour, and that's what I wanted to do. So the bottom line, folks, is this. Number one, we really need to be watching and being carefully attentive to what's taking place over in Iran. Number two, you can expect to start paying a lot more for gasoline and other elements that oil is used. This is going to cause a spike. And if you are a Trump supporter or if you voted for President Trump, please don't get all angry and get upset. We're fighting a war that's getting rid of an evil regime, and there's going to be some collateral damage, and part of that will be our economy. So be forewarned. Friday night, 5 o'clock, oil closed at $92 a barrel. Just 3 weeks ago, it was $71 a barrel. And so it's $21 higher in 3 weeks. And at that rate, by the end of this war, if it lasts the 60 days, it'll be well into the $110 to $120 price range, as it was when President Biden was in office and gasoline was near $4 a gallon. So, and then almost $7 a gallon with the taxes and the out in California. So we're in it for the long haul. And please pray for the citizens of Iran. Please pray for the citizens of Israel that they're safe. And thank you for tuning in, any of you that you did. And we'll see you this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Bible study beginning in the book of Titus with Matthew Miller of Maranatha Ministries. Have a good morning.